One of the fastest ways fractional CMOs burn out is when they don't have clarity around what they do and don't do as a fractional CMO. When you don't know what you should own and what you shouldn't, you end up doing work way outside of your scope, over delivering, and staying way busier than you need to be. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what that means is you are limiting your earning potential. That's why I'm doing this series, What I Do and Don't Do as a Fractional CMO. I want to pull back the curtain on what I actually do and don't do so that you can stay in your lane, protect your time, and lead with confidence when you're doing this role. In this episode, I'm talking about social media because it's one of the areas that I see CMOs overstep and over-deliver into time and time again. I'm going to break down what I own when it comes to social media and what I don't do so that you can understand how I use social media in my role as a CMO and what work actually gets delivered to the team. So the first thing I look at is channel selection. So what channels are we showing up on? And I'm not looking at what channels are trending. I'm looking at what is right for this client with their size of team and their business goals. So I'm asking things like, where does our ideal client actually spend time? How do they make purchasing decisions? And then which channels actually support the business goal? And then the other really important consideration is understanding what resources our clients or our teams have to actually be able to do the work really well. Often I'll help clients cut channels if they either don't have the team to actually execute on the channel well, or sometimes I'll find they're on a bunch of channels that their ideal client is actually not on, or they're making social media a big part of their marketing strategy when that's just not how their clients make decisions. So these are all the things I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about what channels should you be showing up on. Number two is I am helping define the role and goals of each channel. So once we've decided where we're showing up, I'm digging into what is this channel responsible for? What are our expectations or outcomes that we want to see from actually showing up on this channel? For example, LinkedIn might be more about authority or thought leadership, and we might decide that we actually want that channel to be founder-led. On the flip side, Instagram might actually be more about brand building and email list building, for example. YouTube might be about depth, education, long-term visibility. Maybe we have some funnels over there. Maybe we're really leaning into lead generation. My role is to help clarify, why does this channel exist? How does it support the business? And what tangible metrics are we looking at to define success? This prevents really random posting and makes sure that the marketing team isn't just busy for busy's sake, that all of what they are doing is actually moving the needle and helping contribute to the broader business goals. The third thing that I'm looking at is positioning and presence on each platform. So if we're showing up on a platform, what is our tone? What is our positioning? So I'm setting the direction here. And the important distinction to note is I am not creating content. I'm not writing captions. I'm setting messaging direction. I want the team to be super clear on what conversations are we participating in or not? What do we want to be known for? How are we differentiated? What makes us really different? And how do we talk about that? And how and when do we talk about our offers? That way, if everybody knows that, execution stays consistent across the board because our other channels are going to have the same direction from me. So theoretically, when we look at messaging, how we talk about something over here on social media should be the same way we're talking about it over on email or our website. The fourth part is high-level content strategy. And this one is where most people totally start slipping into a social media or a marketing manager role. So I want to be really, really clear here so you know and understand what is and isn't included when you are a CMO. As a CMO, I am doing high-level content strategy. So I might be working with or developing on my own the content pillar. So what kinds of topics do we want to be pulsing into our social media content? Are there any key themes we want to be hitting on or things we want to be known for on that channel? And then when it comes to a marketing campaign or potentially maybe a live launch, that is where I might work more closely with the social media manager or the marketing manager on a specific content plan. But again, I am not planning day-by-day content. What I'm looking at is thematically across the month, across each week, what do I want to see from the team, and making sure that I'm setting expectations so that they're aligned. An important thing to note here again is we're looking at channel consistency so that if someone is experiencing our brand from email to Instagram to YouTube, there's continuity and it feels cohesive and it feels like the same thing. Because what can happen sometimes when teams are not aligned is there's messaging inconsistency, and then people just don't really understand what's going on, or you're missing the opportunity to reinforce important messaging in another channel. So when it comes to content strategy, I'm, again, not doing specific post by post content, but I'm talking about things like, what objections do we want to make sure we hit on? Or what kind of key messaging is really important to hit about this offer or this product? What do we really need to communicate here? So making sure the team's really clear on the key messaging pillars that we want to have woven into their actual strategy. Essentially, I decide what matters and why, what messaging we want to hit on, and the team decides actually how to break that down into their channel and bring it to life in a way that actually works and drives results. And that brings me to the fifth and last part that I support on when it comes to social media strategy, and that is monitoring performance and advising on direction. So what this means is I'm looking at social media performance on a macro level. I'm not in there daily going, oh, this kind of content worked really well. Let's do more of that. That's our social media manager. We want to be bringing in people who are smarter than us as CMOs, someone who's better at social media strategy. They can tell me, hey, we're seeing this in the metrics. We're seeing that. And when you're surrounded by functional experts who are so smart, it makes your role as the CMO even easier, because then you get to stay out of the details and really be up here making sure that performance, messaging, all of these things are really aligned and that you're hitting your goals. So when I look at performance on a macro level, what I'm looking for is trends, patterns, themes. So I'm obviously looking at all of marketing. I might notice that, hey, in this other channel that we're doing, I'm noticing this thing's working really well. How do we tie it into email? Or how do we tie it into our landing page that we have coming up for our launch? So kind of pulling in these insights across channels. And then I'm also looking at trends. So let's just say we've brought in a new social media agency for the client, and maybe we notice, oh, you know what? Since we've brought them in, our reach has gone up, our follower growth is going up, but we're actually not generating leads anymore. That's really fallen off a cliff. That's the kind of thing I can come to the agency with and give them feedback around and sort of course correct to make sure that their goals are really aligned with what's important to us. So again, I'm looking at things from a macro perspective and making sure that the channels at the end of the day are moving the needle and driving results. So when I'm looking at these metrics, I can really translate all of the learnings, all of the data into what should we be doing more of? What should we be doing less of? Is there anything that we can extrapolate across other channels? And then also, do we need a change in resourcing? Sometimes we just have people who are not the best fit for the client or the team. And if they're unable to drive results with really clear direction, then sometimes what that means as a CMO is it's your job to recommend, hey, I think we just need somebody else in this role. They're just not able to hit the metrics that they've been given, and they're not able to explain why, or they're not showing us that, they're adjusting or things are trending upwards. So as the CMO, we are the advisor to the client where we can say, look, a change is really needed, and here's what we want to be looking for. And I also want to note, and if you heard my last episode on the What I Do and Don't Do as a CMO series, I talked about KPIs and data. So listen to that one. I go much deeper, but I do want to note, I am not pulling KPIs myself. I'm not in the back end of social media channels pulling in all the metrics. That's done by the team. If I need something additional, I will ask the team to go a layer deeper and double click into data and get me more information. All right, so I just want to recap what I do not do as a CMO when it comes to social media. I am not creating content. I am not rating hooks. I'm not rating captions. I am not designing graphics. I'm not reviewing everything. I'm not scheduling content. I'm not QAing content. None of that. If I'm doing those things, I am no longer acting like a CMO. I'm acting like a social media manager or a marketing manager. And there's nothing wrong with those jobs. Those are very important, very needed jobs. But I prefer to stay in the CMO seat. I love strategy. It pays better. But that aside, my passion is in the broader marketing strategy. And I love this role. So I want to be seen as a CMO. I don't want to be a marketing manager or a social media manager. And when I step into those places, it really devalues me, which means that ultimately at the end of the day, I can't be showing up as a leader and I can't be making as much money as I could as a CMO. So just a reminder, your value, if you're a CMO, it is not in creating content. It is not in posting content. Your value is in decision-making, prioritization, and ensuring that the team is driving performance, getting results from their marketing. So if you've ever felt yourself sliding into execution with social media, this is your reminder to reset your boundaries and get clear on your role. This series is all about helping you stay in your lane, protect your time, and really stay in the leadership seat as a CMO. In the next episode, I'll continue breaking down what I do and don't do as a CMO. And if there's a certain area that you want me to cover, let me know. So if you're building a fractional CMO business and you don't want to waste years figuring it out the hard way, Fractional CMO School is open for enrollment, and we'll give you the step-by-step roadmap that I used to build my business to 6 figures in 6 months and then $1 million per year with a small team of 2. There's expert coaching, one-on-one support, and whether you are an aspiring fractional CMO or you're growing, you're trying to figure out how to scale your team or do the role in a way that doesn't lead to burnout, it is a great fit for you, and you can learn more at thecmooffice.com. If you love this episode today, here is what I would love from you. Take 30 seconds to rate and review the show. It helps more marketers and CMOs find this content. Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're going to implement any of this or you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in my DMs on Instagram. I would love to support you. And thank you for listening. I will see you next week.